Hello and welcome to Aztecs All In, the podcast that goes all in on San Diego State sports. I'm Louis Weiner along with Steve Perez. 3 games left for the Aztecs football team, who must win all 3 to earn bowl eligibility. And the men's basketball team gets set to go against one of the nation's top teams. Let's say hello to my longtime friend and podcast buddy, Steve Perez. Hey, Steve.
Hello, Louis. Going into the season, the UNLV matchup wasn't one of those that looked like a win. The UNLV football program is on the rise, and Aztecs football, well...
Coming up on Aztecs All In, football coach Sean Lewis reflects on the season, Marquez Cooper, and why Mekhi Shaw fielded a punt on the 4-yard line.
So after that untimely loss at home to the Lobos for the first time in their last 10 matchups, odds makers piling on. Aztecs 20-point underdogs against the running Rebels Saturday in Vegas.
And the Aztecs basketball team hits the century mark as it gets set to play the number 4 team in the nation. But first, the San Diego State football team goes into this week's game against UNLV with a very disappointing 3-6 record overall and 2-2 in conference play. That's not exactly what Aztecs fans were hoping for when Brady Hoke was replaced nearly a year ago with offensive guru Sean Lewis. Most casual college football fans probably never heard of Lewis before he was hired. Other fans who do follow college football a little more closely recognized him from his short time as offensive coordinator at the University of Colorado under Deion Sanders last season. Lewis is so well known for his fast-moving, high-flying offense that almost immediately fans started hearing the phrase Aztec Fast to describe the type of offense Lewis planned to run at Snapdragon Stadium. While Coach Lewis certainly deserves more than 9 games to fully implement his system, what Aztec fans have been watching this season, except for bits and pieces, hasn't been fast at all. Coach Lewis realizes that and admits that not everything has gone smoothly. At this week's media availability, he was asked to evaluate his team with just 3 games left on the schedule.
Not to where we want to be, right? I mean, I think there's, you kind of look at it and you always assess what is successful, and that is, what we're capable of and what we've done. And so I got to do a better job of making sure that we're closing that gap, because there's been a few key plays throughout the course of the year that we all can point to in different moments throughout the season where if they go, our way, because again, we're tied into the attention to detail, a sense of urgency that things need to happen to get done, then we'd be, in a much different situation in terms of what the overall record would be, right? So no one is satisfied, no one's content, but the thing you guys will learn about me, all through all the years, not just this year, but we could be undefeated right now, and I'm not going to be satisfied, and I'm not going to be content, and I'm not going to be to where I want to be, right? And so we're going to continue to grow, we're going to continue to develop, and know and understand that no matter where we are, whether it's year 1 as we sit here going into week 10, or it happens to be week 10 going in, or year 10 going into week 1, you're going to ask me where are we? What does it look like? And I'm going to say, hey, it doesn't matter where we are right now. We got to get better. And I'm not satisfied, and success is never final. We're going to continue to push, and we're going to continue to get better.
Many fans are really frustrated by the offensive inconsistency, and in some Aztec fan forums, some are even saying that Lewis should be fired after just 9 games. But fans need to realize that Lewis inherited players from the previous coaching staff that don't necessarily fit into his scheme long term. It's up to Lewis and his coaches to find those players this offseason, but the changing face of college football is making that a lot more difficult. Here's Lewis's message to fans.
I appreciate their enthusiasm. I appreciate their passion. I appreciate their support, and I hope that they know and understand that it's going to take the whole community to build this to the level that we know that we're capable of building it to, right? That's going to take their support in this era of college football to where we're going to do our part, and we're going to continue to develop our kids, but we need the community support to show up and to pack Snapdragon and to give us an unbelievable, unmatched home field advantage, right? If you can give $1, if you can give $100, you can give $100,000 to help us link the whole community of the 6-1 9 and give to Aztec Link so that we can retain our talent, we can develop our talent, and we can do all the things that Aztec fans have been longing for that we need to do, but we need to know and understand that the vehicle to make that happen in today's era of college football is the support and the resources that are needed to do that, right? But again, like, I understand and I appreciate, if they don't want to say hello to me when they see me in the streets anymore. I get that. That's the burden of leadership that I signed up for, and that's fine. And that's what makes, what's stepping into the arena that we get to step into and being one of the public faces of this university. I welcome that, and I'm very happy to be at a place where the expectations are so high, but I promise you no one's expectations and no one's standards are higher than my own and that we have for this program.
Steve, by all accounts, running back Marquez Cooper is having a stellar season, 965 yards rushing with 9 touchdowns. On the season, he's averaging 4.4 yards per carry. But against New Mexico this past weekend, Cooper actually struggled despite rushing for 123 yards on 35 carries. That's just 3.5 yards per carry. And at times, Cooper looked tentative and impatient. And he admitted just that after the game, saying he needs to be more decisive in his reads, hitting the hole with more speed. Now, on the season, Cooper has 220 carries compared to just 13 for Cam Davis and 13 for Jalen Armstead, who actually hasn't had a carry since the Cal game in Week 4. Coach Lewis was asked this week if he sees a difference in Cooper from the beginning of the season to now.
No, I mean, Coop is used to a high workload, right? I mean, that's what he craves that. He welcomes that. And again, like, for him to speak on, him being upset or frustrated with his performance, again, speaks to, one individual within the organization that has an incredibly high standard for himself and for the team, and looks at it like, hey, I can do more. I could have been better so that it could have helped the team win, not for any other reason, right? And I think when you have a lot of guys that think that way, again, good things are going to happen over time. The unfortunate thing is that we're running out of time for this team, for this season. So there's got to be a greater sense of urgency. And, for Coop in particular, right, he's guaranteed 3 games left in his college football career. Like, that's it, right? And beyond that, I think he's got a good future, right? But you never know what's going to play out at the next level. So for him, like, he sees both for this team, his college career, and individually, right, like, that sand is running through the hourglass. And so he knows that, hey, like, there's certain moments Friday night, there's certain moments throughout the course of the year where he feels that he could have done better, right? And again, like, that's that personal ownership that you're looking for, right? Because then that empowers him and gives him a sense of great agency that he's in control and that he can make the changes that are necessary so that as a team we can get the results that we know that we're capable of.
Steve, late in the game against New Mexico, the Aztecs had a chance. They got the ball back with a chance to go down the field and win the game. But Mekhi Shaw fielded the punt, and instead of letting it bounce into the end zone, he called a fair catch at the 4-yard line. Now, the Aztecs didn't do much with it after that. They ran 5 plays, gained 13 yards, punted the ball, and the game was over. So after the game, I asked Coach Lewis if that is the regular plan for a punt returner to field the ball on the 4-yard line. Here's what he had to say.
We typically want our guys to have their heels on the 5, and that's the cliff where we want to be. But obviously he's making a high-speed decision back there, and he's done an unbelievable job of valuing the football in that regard. So, again, he's a guy that we know that we can trust consistently, and we'll start on the -4, and away we go.
So, Steve, the Aztecs will face a pretty good UNLV team this weekend, and you have more on that.
Lewis, the reason for the Aztecs being such big underdogs goes well beyond their respective records. The big picture, UNLV continued its winning ways even after 2 key offensive starters, their QB and running back, bailed over a dispute about NIL money earlier in the season. Their replacement said thank you for the playing time, and UNLV continued rolling along. Their record stands at 7-2, and they still have an outside shot at winning the conference, even after losing narrowly to the conference leader, Boise State, at home a few weeks back. The Aztecs, well, as I said at the outset, well, you got to look back at that road game against Central Michigan where 2 missed field goals cost them a win late in the game that could have made bowl eligibility more of a possibility. So to recap, Lewis, UNLV heavy favorites, bowl eligible, depth, confidence, playing at home, only lost 2 games. San Diego State, facing postseason elimination, they've won just 3, and now they're going up against a 7-2 team on the road where they have just 1 win this season. They are banged up, especially on the offensive line, etc., etc. Last week for the Running Rebels, a bit of a struggle at Hawaii, but they still pulled out a win. And hey, scoreboard's always the most important stat in my book. That's compared to the Aztecs' loss at home against the Lobos. Again, their first loss to that team in the last 10 games against them. So with all that, here's what the Aztecs are up against when they line up on defense against the Running Rebels. Job 1, and stop me if you've heard this before, Aztecs defense must stop a dual-threat quarterback and senior Hajj Malik Williams. He completes 64% of his passes. He leads an offense that is 7th in the nation in scoring, averaging a shade under 40 points a game, more than 3,800 total yards to date, 15th in the nation in passing efficiency, number 17 in the nation, average yards per catch, and Williams can run. He is inside the top 50 in the nation in rushing yards, putting up an average of 77 a game. Their leading wide receiver, Ricky White III, has 11 touchdowns on the year. He is tied for 22nd in the nation. 58 catches makes him by far the team leader, totaling nearly 800 yards. What is not good for the Aztecs D as well, the UNLV has had a strong offensive line throughout the year, and that's what the above stats tell me. And Coach Barry Odom says his front really asserted itself in the second half against Hawaii. Listen to him, Lewis. The blocking isn't all about the guys on the offensive line.
They were really starting to take control of the game in the second half, as really in the fourth quarter. I think we wore them down. I think, physically, our offensive line did that, along with the tight ends blocking, and then the receivers, the way that Coach Alexander has them playing when the ball's not in their hands. I thought Jet Thomas ran extremely tough, hard. Greg Burrell did as well. Play 70 of the game on offense. It was a big play on first down. I think it got us to 2nd and 4. Right hash, another, then the next call, terrific point of attack blocking, and then Jet broke a tackle, stayed on his feet, and then you look at Ricky White, blocking downfield, getting enough of a space for Jet to continue to run down the sideline, and then Hajj runs downfield and really probably springs the final block to get him into the end zone. That's great team ball. It's fun to see, and the ultimate finish is when you can get into a position offensively and you've got to get a first down to win the game, and they found a way to go get it. Really proud of their efforts. I think they're continuing to play well together as a group. A number of guys stepped in and played the other night in some different formations that we had or schematics and did a nice job. So it was good to see. We're going to have to be able to run the ball the next 3 weeks to have a chance. And if we can do that, then we got a chance of being a pretty good offense here down the stretch.
On defense, UNLV has 3 defensive backs who've come up with 3 or more INTs. Aztecs' Danny O'Neill will have to, as Coach Lou likes to say, value the football.
Very opportunistic. They do a really good job in their zone coverage where they're able to keep eyes on the quarterback, and then very advantageous when they get the opportunity to do so, right? I mean, they have, I believe, 17 total turnovers on the year, right? So they're active to the football. Their linebackers have exceptional range. Like, it's amazing the number of interceptions and just tip balls and PBUs that they have been able to, make and produce this year by reading off of the quarterback vision. So do a really nice job. And again, talented players that can play well in space and do a really nice job of finishing at the moment of truth. They're a multiple front team, right? I mean, they have 2 dynamic edge players that are able to contain and compress the pocket, and then both their linebackers do an exceptional job, right? They came over with coach from Arkansas. They have good understanding of the system. They play well in space. You can tell, Woodard, number 7, their captain, he drives it. He makes sure that they're all, communicating and tied together, and plays with relentless effort and a really, really high motor, and they're just relentless to chasing the football.
Rebels have the 4th best scoring defense in the conference, and special teams, that so-called third phase of the game. There's that name again, Ricky White, leads the nation in block kicks.
Yeah, I mean, they have really good players playing on their teams, right, that have bought into that phase of the game. I mean, you know, their outstanding wide receiver, Ricky White, is accounted for 5 punt blocks this year, right? I mean, so he's doing it and impacting the game in a lot of different ways. And then obviously they have dynamic returners. But, you know, for those returners to make the explosive plays that they do, they have guys that are completely bought into that phase of the game. And you can tell that they use it as a weapon for them to swing the momentum of the game in big-time ways. I mean, huge kickoff return that sets up, you know, their one first-half touchdown against Hawaii, right? Puts them all the way down, you know, on the goal line so they're able to punch that thing in. So again, good players, you know, good scheme. They do a really nice job week in and week out, giving you different wrinkles. And again, those guys play exceptionally hard in that phase of the game.
Now, from the Rebels players at the Mountain West Media Days in Vegas before the season started, here's what I got out of conversations with them. They really love their coach, Barry Odom. Part of the reason is because he really puts himself out there. He talked about that brief bull ride last season that raised $10,000 for the school's athletics foundation there. His wife shook her head. And the coach says he did too as he was getting aboard that bill. You remember, the one called the Widowmaker? But he went through with it and didn't last long, and he hit the ground hard. He took his team, though, through the ride on the coach's clicker afterward. And to his team before the ride began, he wasn't afraid to pause that tape and stop to admit to his guys that he was scared. His players say he showed no signs of pain coming in and out of practice the week after the stunt. Odom says he didn't dare show his guys he was hurt. After all, he asked them to put themselves on the line every game. He didn't show any signs of pain until after he got out of view, he says. That might be one of those intangibles, Lewis, why you might see Rebels players Saturday night putting in a little extra effort in every play. Over to you, Lewis.
Steve, the Aztec men's basketball team cruised in its final tune-up before facing number 4 Gonzaga at Viejas next week. They went to 2-0 on the season, beating Division III Occidental 100-49. The 100 points were the most since scoring 103 against Texas Southern 6 years ago. The Aztecs got off to a scorching hot start and an 18-0 lead. At the first media timeout, the Aztecs led 25-2, shooting 10 of 13 from the field and 5 of 6 from 3, including 2 from 7-footer Magoon Guath. Before the 10-minute mark of the first half, the Aztecs already had 10 three-pointers. They finished the game with 18, one off the record of 19, set 2 years ago against who else but Occidental. Guath, Wayne McKinney III, and B.J. Davis led the way, each scoring 16 points. 5 players scored in double figures, and 7 different players hit a three-point shot. After the game, Coach Brian Dutcher said, "Good shooting is good shooting, no matter who the opponent is."
I was kind of looking through the old scores with them, and we'd scored 90, I think, last 3 or 4 games against them, mid-90s. So I told him if we got to 100, I was going to check into the game. I hadn't played since high school, but I didn't have enough time. We didn't get there till like 25 seconds left. So, but no, it's fun. It's fun to watch the ball go in the basket, and I don't care who the opponent is. At some level, you still have to make the shot. And so we made a lot of shots against man early and then against zone late. And I think that builds confidence. If you're a shooter and it starts going in and everybody was making them, you start feeling good about yourself. So in that regard, it's a real positive moving forward that guys that might have been struggling with their shot have now got good confidence in it as we head into this big stretch in November. Rebounding-wise, we got to do better, obviously. Defensively, we have to continue to grow. And we know what areas we need to work on, and we're getting better. But the question is, are we getting better fast enough to deal with this next level of competition we're going to face?
Aztecs played this one without Miles Bird, who injured his ankle in practice. But Coach Dutcher is hopeful that Bird will be able to play against Gonzaga next Monday. He said scoring 100 points is great, but Gonzaga is a team that often scores in the 90s, and it's imperative that that does not happen on the Viejas court next week.
We scored 100 points, and everyone was like, wow, that's fantastic. I think Gonzaga in their first 3 games is averaging 95. How is that possible? they're playing Arizona State and Baylor, and it's common for them to score this many points. You know, we sit in here, it's like, wow, that's incredible. And now we got to play a team that scores that many every night. So we have to find a way to not allow that to happen in this building. We have to be hard-minded and tough defensively and rebounding, and then we have to produce enough offense to find a way to get a win against a really good team next Monday.
So, Steve, the Gonzaga game is a sellout, but checking Ticketmaster, resale seats are available with upper row bench seats selling for up to $200.
Okay, that's all she wrote for this edition of Aztecs All In. Remember, you can follow us on the X at Aztecs_all_in, and you can drop us a note at Gmail. That's our Gmail account address, aztecsallin@gmail.com. So, he's Louis Weiner. I'm Steve Perez saying thanks for checking us out. Talk to you again after the UNLV Aztecs matchup.